Previously, I made the bold claim that I replaced the desiccant in my Bamboo Lab AMS for the last time. And while that claim is true, the color-changing desiccant that I used does need to be recharged from time to time so it can continue to maintain a dry environment inside the AMS. This is also something I need to do for the color-changing desiccant in my Polymaker PolyDryer boxes. So, how do I do that? Well, we'll get into it in like 5 seconds. Ready? Go! Hello 3D printing friends and welcome back. So I have these printed desiccant boxes in a couple of my Bamboo Lab AMS units, and I also have a handful of these PolyDryer boxes from Polymaker. The relative humidity inside the AMSs was starting to creep up and the color had changed on the ones in the PolyDryer boxes. The blue ones had turned purple and the orange ones had turned dark green, so it was time to recharge the desiccant. And the way to do that, essentially, is to heat it to get the moisture out of it so it returns to its dry color. Polymaker's suggestions for recharging the desiccant are running an empty PolyDryer box at max power for 8 hours, or oven baking the silica gel beads for a couple of hours, or microwaving the beads for about a minute. But in the comments on the AMS video, a lot of you cautioned against putting the color-changing silica gel in an oven or microwave that's also used to prepare food due to the toxic nature of the chemicals that make the silica gel change colors. Also, some of you said that in a microwave, the silica gel beads get so hot they either melt the container they're in or they cause the container to break. So, at least for the desiccant containers in the PolyDryer boxes, that just leaves the run it for 8 hours at max power option. I've tried that before and it works up to a point, but the problem is there just doesn't seem to be enough airflow over the beads to really get them dried out. So that got me thinking, is there a way to force the hot, dry air across the beads to get them dried out relatively quickly? I started searching on MakerWorld and found a few different designs. Several of them were variations on a tray that hangs from the spool holder inside the PolyDryer box. But I was concerned that the tray could tip and easily spill the desiccant beads. But then I saw this one, Desiccant Dryer and Cover for Polymaker PolyDryer from ElMagicoDeOz. This sits on the PolyDryer base. It pushes the hot, dry air under a slotted tray containing the desiccant beads and pulls it out the top, so the air flows through the volume of beads in the tray. There are a few different sizes of the model, some thinner and some thicker to accommodate more beads. I printed the biggest one so I could dry a large quantity of beads at one time. This is printed in PETG, and so far it seems to be holding up to the heat from the PolyDryer. I've already dried the desiccant for my PolyDryer boxes, so let's dry the beads from one of my AMSs. How are we going to do this? Well, I've pulled the desiccant boxes out of my AMS. I've got a plastic tray to catch any stray beads, and all I need to do is slide the covers off the boxes and dump the beads into the drying tray. These beads are all a dark greenish color. That's how you know they need to be recharged. When they're dry, they're orange. Once all the beads are in the drying tray, it goes into the body of the dryer and the lid goes on top. Then turn on the PolyDryer base. Set it for power level 3, then set the drying time to 2 or 3 hours. I'm going to run this for 2 hours, which worked fine for the last batch of beads that I dried. After about an hour, I checked on the beads. They were starting to turn orange again, but they were still pretty dark. I gave them a quick stir, but this dryer is doing a good job of moving the air through all the beads, so it doesn't look like that was really necessary. When the 2 hours was up, the PolyDryer stopped. By this time, the beads were nice and orange again. Another quick stir shows the color is uniform through all the beads, indicating they all dried evenly. Now the dried beads can go back into the desiccant boxes. And the boxes can go back in the AMS. Just to show how quickly this setup can reduce the relative humidity inside the AMS, this quick time-lapse shows it dropping by over 10% in just half an hour. So that's a quick way to recharge silica gel beads with Polymaker's PolyDryer. It doesn't involve an oven or microwave, and it only takes a couple of hours. I know this is kind of a niche method because not everybody has a PolyDryer, but for those that do, this model works pretty well. It may even be possible to use your 3D printer's heated bed to do the drying. If you think that would make for an entertaining video, drop a comment and let me know. If enough of you think it's worth doing, I'll take a stab at it. So, thank you for watching, and big thanks to everyone who supports the channel, whether with channel memberships or by using the links in the description. If you liked this episode, give it a thumbs up and maybe subscribe so you don't miss new ones. Well, 3D printing friends, that's about all the time we have for this one, and now that we're at the end, let's go print something cool.